Hello everyone, and welcome back to day 4 of my fall series for this year. Today I wanted to create this cute little scene using some Lawn Fawn products. So first off, I wanted to share some of the dies and stamp sets that I use. I used the simple Grassy Hillside borders, the cloud border die. I used the reveal wheel holiday sentiments. I used the Joy to the Woods stamp set for the birch trees. I used the Jump for Joy stamp set for the leaves and the Winter Sky stamp set for the cute little critters there. I did a little bit of pre-die cutting so you guys wouldn't have to watch me die cut all of these, but we'll get to those here real soon. The first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to get my images all stamped out and ready for coloring. I'm using my Misti stamping tool here to help me out to get some nice crisp images. And I'm also going to be using some Memento Tuxedo black ink as well because it is Copic friendly. And I had misplaced my magnet for my Misti. I hadn't been able to find it for a couple of days, so I tried using a magnet that I had just kind of lying around, and it really didn't help at all. But I eventually did find my magnet. It wound up getting stuck to another stamp set, and I was really thankful that I found it. So getting my images all stamped out here for you, and then I had to go find my stamp chamois so that I could clean off my stamps. And I ended up having it a little bit too wet, and I got a little bit of moisture on my paper there, so I had to stamp my trees a couple of times. So make sure your stamp chamois is not too wet. You just wanted to have it damp enough that you can get the ink off of the stamp. So I had a couple of boo-boos there, but eventually I got a good impression so I could color, and I just kind of X'd those trees out I didn't want to use so I knew not to color them. So I'm going to get to coloring. And you can see I had some leaves stamped in some colored ink there. I decided I wasn't going to use those, so you'll just have to ignore those. So first I wanted to get my birch trees colored, and I'm using some warm grays for that. I'm using W1, W3, and W7 for my birch trees today. And the birch trees are probably one of my favorite trees. Just something about their coloring and how well they stand out, especially in the fall against all of the beautiful bright oranges and reds and yellows. The nice white trees, they really pop in the fall. So I was really excited whenever I got this set. Next, I'm going to get into coloring all of my little leaves here. As you can see, I only have one pile of leaves, but in the finished image there, I have 2 piles, so I ended up coloring another pile off screen. But I'm using some greens here. I'm using YG61, 67, and 63 for the green. I'm using R24 and 29 for the reds, Y11 and Y13 for the yellows, and then YR15 and YR18 for the oranges. So next I wanted to get into coloring my critters here, and I'm using some more of those orangey yellow colors. I'm using Y17, YR15, and YR18 to color in this gorgeous little fox here. These 2 critters cuddling, I just think are the cutest. I really love using them for fall, for winter. You can use them just about for any season. And I'm starting to try to venture into more color combinations. I've been watching a lot of videos trying to get to those colors. So next I'm going to color in the little raccoon next to him. I'm using W1, W3, W5, and W7 to get him colored in. And it took a little bit more shading for this guy. I wanted to make sure that I got the perfect shading so that it really looked like I had lots of depth and dimension into him. I really had a lot of fun creating this card. I had this idea in my head for a couple of weeks now, and I couldn't wait to share it with you guys. I had gotten the idea for the tree bit, the top part, using the stitched clouds from Sherry Carroll on the Lawn Fawn YouTube page. So I thought I could borrow it from her. So thanks, Sherry, for the great idea. Next, I'm going to color in their little scarves. I wanted to pull in some more of those nice colors from the leaves. For the fox here, I'm using the YG 61, 63, and 67 for his little scarf. And then I wasn't sure if I wanted to do like a turquoisey color for the little raccoon's scarf, but then I thought maybe if I did blue, it would help pull in the color from the sky that I'm going to do later on. So I decided to go with the blues on that. And once I had all of those images colored, I got the coordinating dies for all of them, and I got ready to cut all of those out. And there's all my images cut out. So now we're going to work on our background. So I'm getting out some of my distress inks. I'm using Salty Ocean and Blueprint Sketch to do my sky background. Just doing some ink blending here. I'm using just regular Neenah paper. I ran out of Bristle Smooth, so it took me a little bit longer to get the blending just the way that I wanted it, but it still turned out really, really good. And speed through all the blending here. I was going for kind of like the sun had just gone down and it started to get, it's starting to get dark and you can just start to see the stars coming out. That was my thought process behind my sky colors here. And as you can see, I also cut another border for my treetops. And I'm just using some Mowed Lawn Distress inks here for my grass. I wanted to add a little bit of dimension to them as well, so they weren't just a flat green color. And then I used some carved pumpkin for the tree toppers. And what I did was I just took the reveal wheel die and I cut out where my sentiments were going to go, so that I knew where to cut that border so it wouldn't interfere with the reveal wheel. And I added a little bit of, I believe, brushed corduroy into the tops too, so I kind of had a little bit of hint of brown. Just laying out my little scene here, and it's looking great. And I also pulled out I used a little mini brad here to assemble my reveal wheel. And I'm also using the Essentials stencils for the reveal wheel from Lawn Fawn. Get that all lined up, just using some scrapbook adhesive, little square adhesives for the reveal wheel there. Just using my Misti and using that little template to get my sentiments lined up. And again, I'm just going to use some VersaFine Onyx Black ink for this here, because I really wanted to make sure that my sentiments stood out. Starting to get super excited because the weather is definitely starting to become a little more pleasant. The leaves are starting to change. I see them all the time on my way to work, and I just adore it. I point them out and say, look, there's a yellow one and there's an orange one. So I'm really, really excited for fall. I wasn't really sure where I wanted to place that other birch tree there. So I get it placed, and I'm going to start adding all of my little pieces onto my scene here. And I had a little bit of a boo-boo. I had cut this kind of double tree here a bit too short for where I wanted it, so thankfully I had a nice fix for that. I ended up putting a pile of leaves in front of that one. And that other birch tree kind of went over where the reveal wheel notch is, but I wasn't too worried about it because it didn't interfere with how it worked at all. So I trimmed off those leaves, and I decided I wanted to leave the little critters' tails long. I didn't want to cut those off from the bottom. So I left those nice and long so they kind of stuck out away from the scene. And I just went in with my white gel pen and added some highlights to these cute little critters. And used some 3D foam squares to raise those guys up off of the background. And then I also didn't want to have my reveal wheel to be white because I thought it would stand out too much against all of these nice rich colors. So I decided to go in with my carved pumpkin and add some color to that. So that's starting to look really good. I'm using a nice craft card stock for my card base today. And I decided I wanted to add just a little bit of framing around it there, just to kind of make those colors really pop off of there. I thought that black border would really make them shine. So next I'm going to get the rest of my sentiment stamped out, and I have Hope Your Fall Is, and then cutting it out with my scissors here to get some nice little squares, or excuse me, rectangles. And I just used the VersaFine ink on some craft cardstock as well to help pull that back into the scene. And I got my 3M tape to pop up this front panel so that the reveal wheel will spin around. So let me make sure it's not touching anywhere. I got all my foam tape attached there, and then I'm going to line up my 2 panels and then attach the rest of my sentiment with some Dari's foam strips, and then use some Lawn Fawn liquid glue to attach the rest of my elements here to my card. And I used the Lawn Fawn glue as well to attach the little arrow on the side that comes in the reveal wheel die to indicate that this card does spin. I'm super excited because Stamptember is in full swing. They still have some really great exclusive stamp sets out. I did pick up the Gina K stamp set, and I'm super excited to share that when I get ready to do my holiday cards. So the last thing I wanted to add to this card today was some shimmer. I'm using the Nuvo Aqua shimmer pen to add some shimmer to the critters and the leaves. And then I finally used the Sakura glitter pen to add some to the birch trees and also to enhance the stars in the background. And that will finish up the card for today. So thank you guys for coming by. Thank you for commenting, liking, and subscribing to my channel. I can't wait to share day 5 with you, and I will see you guys really soon. Have a great day. Bye.